what's up? I've got a meeting to prepare for. So I'm like, let me just exercise my tongue and my mouth because one of the reasons why I became a writer is because I'm not very fond of speaking. I think I talk a lot, but but I think I like to ramble, and so a lot of the time when I'm in a meeting, I have to structure my rambles, which is unsurprisingly super difficult for me. So, welcome to episode 2 of your Master Rainbow Nation. And today I'm going to timestamp this to let you know when I start my part 2 of my Dr. Death rant, or this could just be an interlude in, within the series. Um, but I think, this falls into some of the things that I want to speak about in this podcast in terms of how apartheid, you know, really shaped, how we carry ourselves as Black people within South Africa, and how we go about, practicing our freedom that we were granted in 1994. I think whether we are in denial or not, even the way that politics is currently unfolding, how the economic situation, socioeconomics, is currently unfolding, is giving us a real picture into who's really in control and why things happen the way that they do. You know, so there's just a couple of things that I want to talk about that I don't know. Maybe they are related, maybe they are not related. But the first thing that I want to start off with is the Matlanga Commission as well as the Ad Hoc Commission, and something about how our politicians talk. And I find myself, and maybe this is because like I've been chronically online, I think, since I discovered the internet. Okay, I'm having a thing. I'm having a thing with my hair. Yes. I'm trying to train it to go this way. So, okay. So I've had this thing, especially about politicians and how politicians speak and how people in parliament speak. I think people like Julius Malema and the EFF and what's his name again? The guy that left the EFF, Comrade Bay. I found the way that they spoke to be quite charismatic and engaging, right? I mean, if you think of somebody like Mandela, Mandela spoke really slowly, Thabo Mbeki really slowly, and then Zuma, oh my God, like Zuma was such an interesting public speaker. Like, I remember a friend of mine telling me about a friend of his who used to write speeches for Zuma, and like they would just go into panic every single time they saw him like lift up his head, and then he would like make a gesture, and then they know, oh, this nigga is gonna sing. Like, I have very fond memories of me and my grandmother literally like singing Zuma songs, right? So I feel very guilty, as a South African citizen, because when you can come in, because when I digest or when I catch up with what's going on vis-a-vis Madlanga Commission and whatever, I prefer like, hello. No, I'm not doing anything serious.
Oh, hi.
I'm just talking to myself.
Did you say
No. So I find that when this is my sister. Sister, say hi to my YouTube channel.
Hi.
She doesn't want to wear her glasses, so she's always squinting. Anyways, I feel guilty as a South African because I cannot listen to those people talking for more than 10 minutes. I get so bored. So it's either Susan Pofu Walsh has to break it down to me so that I can understand it. Although Susan Pofu Walsh goes over my head sometimes, I don't think I'm smart enough to digest his shit. And sometimes I'm very confused about what's going on that channel. But we'll talk about that on another day. Today I'm talking about why do our politicians speak so fucking slowly and so fucking boringly? And why do they lie to a point where, like the truth is right in front of you, but then you insist on either lying or if like completely evading the question? And that's very, very frustrating to witness because then you get to see how disrespectful these people are, right? And yeah, and I don't know, like I guess we're supposed to respect them because they are like, in their 70s. These people should be on pension. Like you're supposed to start working when you like when we are turn 65, we can't get job. We can't even get a job when you turn 36 in South Africa because everything is you must be between 24 and 35 or 18 and 35. You must be in the youth bracket. And then when you turn 36, sorry, you're on your own. So I'm not even sure how those people get those seats. So the only way I can digest those Majanga things, I can just do like a 10-minute video on TikTok. Please break it down for me, point for point. Or I can read an article about it, about what was said. But I do think that is problematic. I think it's problematic to like lead a country but not have a sense of accountability to that country or like straightforwardness or um, just straight up lying and stealing. And I think that's another frustrating thing about corruption in South Africa is how unsophisticated it is. How, it's super easy, super easy, yeah, to get away with just the most heinous crimes to humanity. And then, okay, cool. So my meeting is still coming. And then the second thing that I want to talk about again, probably unrelated to what I just spoke about, but probably related. Um, how do I put this? So the influencer, there's been a lot going on in the influencer space, and I was looking at this lady who threw a party. Her name is Grace Mandlana. So she threw a party, right? And then she invited other influencers to that party. And within the same week, there was just a lot going on. And I'm not quite sure, like, what is and isn't misinformation. But again, I think it had me thinking about how we think about freedom as black people in South Africa, right? Which is, I think, the point of this podcast and why I think it's important to examine so many ideas and things that we've learned under this rainbow nation, right? Um, and one of the things, I guess, is the pursuit of economic freedom. So it's always interesting to me how influences move through the world and how, you know, it's kind of, you are sold kind of like this idea of this is what it means to be free. This is what it means to be successful. It means that you have these kinds of possessions, right? And imagine in an economy where you can't even own your own house, you can't afford the roof that you live under. You don't know when that roof is going to be blown off because you lost your job, you got retrenched, or or now you're getting paid less, or your boss discovered ChatGPT. Now there's no, now you've become redundant. So it's like we live in such uncertain economic times, and a lot of black people also do not own much in terms of products. So there's not much going on in terms of like the black economy in itself. So all our money ultimately goes to like white people. So like your Pick and Pays, your Shoprites, your Boxes, whatever. So it's just like everything is fleeting, and even when you try something, you're trying to start a business, it's such a hard and uphill thing. And I always feel like starting a business from survival mode is really the reality for most entrepreneurs in South Africa, right? And finding ways, hustling to like make money come together. Um, and then you have a look at influencers and how they are always selling you something. They're always selling you a lifestyle. they're always selling you like, kind of like this glitz and glamour, and this is how you should be living. The way you are living is not the ideal, whatever. You must always be aspiring towards more, and then you can come into these little parties and these things that we throw for ourselves, right? But you actually have people who, like, okay, I'm circling around. You actually have like genuine creators and creatives in South Africa, right? But then you have people who have, I guess, more access, more money, being more visible, right? And that's like the aspiration and the standard, right? Like that's what you should be aspiring to, say, as a young matriculant, right? One day, you'll be looking through Instagram, and of course, all those things are nice and pretty to have, like a big house, a thing, whatever. And in recent times, right, like you see with people like Jackie Pamodze exposing what she does again. Interesting character, but we've just seen that with the influencer lifestyle, it's never quite as it seems. Like the girlies are like, no, we work hard, right? But then the girlies are getting shat on in Dubai at the same time, right? The girlies are going on trips, but then it's the money now from that commission that I spoke about, the one that is too boring to listen to, the money that they're spending. These guys with big stomachs are taking them on these vacations, right? So it's like, when you peel off like the first layer, right? And the thing about Grace Mandlana, right? The way that I understand it, and I understand that I look at these issues like when you hear me talking about these issues, just think of like that your auntie talking about them. I never know the full context, but I already have thoughts. So she just appeared apparently I never said this. I heard this being said on YouTube that she appeared out of nowhere, right? And one of the ways in which she blew up on the internet is that she paid for her ex-boyfriend's funeral and made a whole thing about it. And while that guy had already moved on from her, she goes and does a post that's like, oh, rest in peace, love of my life, and apparently gave a speech at the funeral. Because of tradition and laws, the girlfriend was not allowed to attend the funeral, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just saying, like, this person is already kind of very detached to any sense of like humanity, because it's her money, right, that makes her like famous and prominent on the internet. The people with the money have the most visibility. I think that is evident across any kind of spectrum of entertainment. The people who have access, money, connections, they are the ones that are going to be seen. And that doesn't necessarily equate to great morals, furthering, I guess, other, especially I think with black people, like furthering or helping other creatives around you, I don't know, it's a bit iffy because there was so much to that event that I, just as an outsider, was like, how, like, did you guys have a good time, or were you just there to take good pictures, right? Um, yeah, so I think in conclusion, right, to like just again another kind of like random thought is I've really been thinking about how as South Africans, how do we exercise our freedom? Can we characterize like what we have as freedom? Can we characterize ourselves as people who walk through the world loving our blackness and our black selves? And because I think sometimes there's a very clear obsession that people are very much wanting to align themselves to like richness, to whiteness, to um not really, I don't know, to just being rich people and being really annoying about being rich and being truly insufferable. Okay, those are the end of my random thoughts, and then I'm going to do the podcast in a separate episode because I think I have chowed up enough time. Okay, I'll see you on part two of the Voita Bason two-part series. We're going to be talking a little bit more in detail about his victims. I might try to see if I can include some of his testimony in the TRC, and we might read from some of the HSPC's case against him, what was said there. And then I think we're gonna catch up again with. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go to the previous video because that's episode one of Doctor Death. And then in episode two, we're gonna be doing the Kradock 4 because I think we need to talk about these things more. They're happening around us. The Matlanga Commission is important and all, but I think our history is just as important. If you feel moved to do so, please subscribe and like the video. And if you like this video, my sister's gonna always wear her glasses, okay?